was gekommen?
Wenn es geht.
Yeah. Too bad.
Tape is tape.
Because I mean, especially in the UK, for the last 10 years, all of the record companies have just been saying, you know, to young musicians, we will do everything. We will control your image and control your music and the songs. It's like with Pop Idol or you know any of those kind of manufactured processes, and so there have not been any young musicians who have had any encouragement or any possibility of doing something new.
If you don't have a #1 hit now on your first single, you're dropped by the record label pretty much.
It's the industry has really screwed everything up.
I read that even Phil Collins said, or was it Mark Knopfler, the director, said, if I'd start now, they wouldn't give me a contract.
They wouldn't. It's true. It's absolutely true. But in a way, Coil, we've been lucky that we never needed a contract. I mean, at some points with Psychic TV, we signed to CBS for a while, and then also to Warner Brothers.
You were with Genesis on the first two albums?
Mm-hmm. Psychic TV,
yeah, but 2 albums.
2 albums, yeah. And one was signed to CBS and the other to Warner's. But it was, you know, actually a stupid waste of time, really. I mean, we made some money for 2 years, but it was a bad idea because it didn't, you know, the record company had no idea how to promote Psychic TV, and it was really, you know, with the kind of music that we make, you have to go directly to the people that are interested, and not to people who are in shops, you know. But now the music industry in the UK is so fucked up that on programs like Top of the Pops or these kind of programs, they no longer claim that the chart is achieved independently. They just say the chart is a product of the music industry. You know, in the past they always said that the chart, which record was #1 which week, was always independent of the record companies. You know, so that there was no possibility of corruption or of payola and all this. But now they've given up even trying to claim that it's independent. So each week the promotion of what single is #1 is just is a fabrication. It's just imaginary, you know, and the record companies meet over lunch somewhere and decide who's going to have the #1 that week. It's so corrupt and anti-creative that it makes what we do seem a different world. Well, it is a different world.
I read a statement of a journalist, a Viennese journalist, this statement is maybe a rare statement, but it's a good one. He said, I'm not a partner for the media, I'm a journalist from my heart. I love the music, and if I hear music I like, I want to share. And all the gifts they have given to me, I have given it to people who need these jackets or whatever, t-shirts, because I'm no partner. I love music, and it's no interest for me if this is the new record and we have to promote it now. I promote it when I feel that I have to promote it.
Otherwise it's all
But they are angry with him now.
Du sagst mir. Also ich habe es große eingestellt und wenn mache ich ein bisschen was.
If Coil, we were talking about this. Yeah.
Ich drücke mal so drauf, ja?
If Coil would start now, you think you had the same chance to stay with your freedom, your artistic freedom, or would you go another way too?
I think we would. The main thing would be that to make the initial spread of contact with people, and nowadays the internet is so much a part of everyone's life that it's possible to, if you're a little bit persistent, I think it's possible to get your name spread around a bit. It's hard, but Coil have a big advantage that we have been going for such a long time, and we have fans all over the world, you know, who who follow what we do and who check out internet sites that are based on our work. So it's obviously easier for us than for someone starting. But I think it is possible now for someone who, has ideas and who has a vision and a kind of a passion for what they do to be successful, as far as Coil is successful, without any connection whatsoever with the music industry. The music industry is it's a dinosaur, and it should have been buried many years ago.
It is very different now, though, in terms of, there's so many people are making music in the kind of in the experimental music fields as well. Everything's saturated because it's so easy to do now. It's easy to get equipment and to record and master your music at home. Where kind of alternative experimental sections maybe 10 years ago may have only been, maybe like 20, 30 different artists. Now there's 100.
But I still think that it's possible to, if you exercise editorial control and imagination, I think it's possible to do something that's good and different.
If the market is saturated, but do you do your work, your music for the market?
No,
you have to do it.
I don't think you do. I think you should just do your music totally for yourself. But part of doing it for yourself is doing something that that I myself would like to hear, and in a way that's dependent on other records that I've already heard. I mean, if I've heard all of the Autechre releases, then the things that I would like to hear now for myself may be influenced by that. So it's influenced in a way by the market, for example. But I don't think you can make music because you want to sound like a particular thing, or you want to copy a particular thing, or you want to try and find a particular niche. You have to do what comes from the heart.
But in the end, projects like Coil are somewhere placed in the pop market, even if it's not in the center of this. But it's not pop music; it's art. It's.
Yeah, it's difficult to find a genre because there is no genre, and there is, in the past, pop music, like in the 60s, pop music served a very particular. It was a voice of a kind of a generation of rebellion and change, and since then it's become corrupted and destroyed. So the people like us, what we do is artistic, and I think what we do is emotional and passionate and spiritual, if you like, but it doesn't appeal. It's not directed at an art gallery market, and it's also not directed particularly, at kids who. It's just directed into the public, into the air, and anybody is able to pick it up and to find out if they want to.
But your art is in a way provoking, and maybe it's just provoking because it's reflecting, and so many people are hurt by things they didn't want to see or didn't want to realize. Don't you think so?
Maybe. I think if you're creating from the heart, then then there's going to be a truth, even if it's your truth, and sometimes that hurts. But it's trying to generate something that is uncontrived and more intuitive. It's not kind of there to be provocative. It's just there to be truthful to yourself. And if people can react with that and relate to that, then you're doing something good.
It's important to us that we deal with issues that have meaning for us, and so sometimes those issues are, ones that are serious or deep or dark, you know. But darkness that doesn't necessarily mean anything bad, you know. People who like Coil because they know that we're talking the truth, that we're telling the truth, and we're speaking about things that are important for us. And often those things are important for our audience as well. You know, it's if you just make songs about, you know, love, and it's not very interesting.
I think a lot of artists who are doing dark, or let's call it strange work, are not into discussing it or not into explaining it. They say, this is art, it stands here, take what you need. Do you mind discussing it or arguing about
Well, I'm not very good at discussing it. Our singer, John Balance, is a person who discusses it usually, but I think he's past the point of discussion right now. I don't mind talking about it, but it's quite often in interviews, especially with the kind of student newspapers and magazines and stuff, people start asking questions about the meaning of life and philosophy and things like that, and it's kind of difficult to know how to answer those questions because the people have to find that stuff out for themselves. And there are a lot of things about Coil that really have to be discovered individually by the listener, you know, at home in the dark with a CD or a DVD or whatever.
And each listener's response is going to vary. You know, you can't control how someone's going to react to what you do. You know, we have our own personal way of relating to what we do, but you can't expect other people to react in the same way. They might get something completely different from it.
There are a few artists who are working with symbols, with a lot of different symbols, and most of them don't want to explain what it is, but some of these artwork is mistaken, has the wrong audience, you know what I mean? And for me interesting was that, for example, draZen, I don't know what he really means, the guy, but it was forbidden for him to go on stage in Germany. So who did the mistake? He didn't want to explain anything. He didn't want to say, I'm no Nazi. You have to find out for yourself.
I mean, I don't particularly want to start talking about draZen because I'm not a great fan of their music or of them personally. But some people, you know, I think they're okay, and they used to be on the same distribution company as us, but they're no longer.
Can't really talk for Doug, really.
Not at all. I wouldn't be interested to talk for him. Yeah. I think people, especially people in the media, get confused between the use of a symbol and its meaning. And it's like, for example, it's okay normally for people. They say that it's okay for people to refer to the World Trade Center, attack in a news item, but it's not okay to refer to it in a song. But that, to me, that makes no sense. It's if you're going to write songs about things that are important, you need to have access to the same images or symbols or ideas so that you can comment on them, and it doesn't necessarily mean approval or disapproval. Anybody that knows Coil's work will know that we are quite political people, and we have very strong views about, behavior that's, positive and life-affirming and does good things in the world, and different kinds of behavior that encourages, hate and of particular sections of society, whether it's gay people or Americans or Germans or any other kind of, denomination of people. We Coil have a very positive and life-affirming and loving, if you like, standpoint towards nature and the planet and to our fellow animals. Now, other groups, think that it's a good idea or think that it's clever to associate with so-called fascist imagery, and to me, they don't see the harm that they do by to encourage that kind of behaviour. Does that make sense? I don't know if that's.
I think it makes sense.
If that's clear, I think if a band uses like Nazi imagery, for example, and doesn't qualify or doesn't explain the fact, what they mean or what behaviour or what beliefs they're encouraging, then they must expect people to be angry about it.
But they can't get upset if people get angry about it. So.
Now, we would always want people to be responsible for their own actions and their own activities, and so it's you just have to be careful, and you have to explain what it is that you mean.
Do you have to explain?
I think you do, yeah, because if people accidentally, if people accidentally misunderstand what you're doing and use that as an excuse for hate crimes or something, then certainly you need to explain, or you need to be responsible, or make sure people understand what it is that you're meaning.
Marilyn Manson, Rammstein.
It just depends what your intentions are. If your intention is just to literally shock and upset people, then you do that kind of thing.
To some extent, both Rammstein and Marilyn Manson are kind of cartoon characters, and I don't think that an intelligent listener or viewer would take them very seriously. But many people in America are not seemingly intelligent enough to be able to distinguish between the real Satan and somebody, in a thong. And to me, that's, it's disappointing that Americans shouldn't be able to make that distinction. But that's kind of their problem. And Marilyn is very adept and very intelligent guy, and is clever enough to manipulate the press for his own commercial interests. I have a lot of respect for the guy. I personally wouldn't want to do it that way, but he knows what he's doing.
You were talking about visions. What are your visions of where should society go? And is there a chance to change society without?
I think there probably isn't a chance, but you still have to fight, to do so. Because this is a philosophy question. I don't know if in one way I'm pessimistic about the future of the world, about the future of the human part of the world, but at the same time I feel that you always have to try and make things better because it's your responsibility. So that we have many influences or heroes or people who influenced us when we were teenagers, like William Burroughs or Brian Gysin, John Giorno, these kind of people, and they made my life much better when I was 11, 12, 13, 14 years old, because I was able to read those books or hear their words, and I understand that what I was going through was not unique to me. It was a common experience that I shared with these creative people that changed my life. And as a creative person, I feel it's my responsibility to do that or provide that possibility for others. And the more people that do that, the more the actual quality of life for everyone will improve, I hope. That sounds pretentious, but
not at all.
But it's that's what the important thing about being a creative person, which all of us are, is to try and show people that it's possible to live in a different way, maybe from one's parents or from society in general, and it could still be creative and good and positive and lead a good life, kind of thing.
Sometimes I think the creative work can kind of kill you. If I think of I'm not talking about Jim Morrison or Kurt Cobain. I'm talking about Genesis P-Orridge.
How has it killed him?
It kind of killed. So there were years, I think he was kind of insane. I don't know what he's doing now.
He's trying to put the pieces back together. The thing about the work that Robin Gristle and Coil and to a slightly lesser extent Psyche TV did is that we kind of act as like conduit. You know, a conduit is a sort of a mouthpiece, a way of passing information that we feel back to the audience, and it's oftentimes it's quite spontaneous and it's very deeply felt. And in the time of Throbbing Gristle, Genesis was the kind of front person and the person who had to expose his imagination and personality to the public the most deeply of the four of us. And right now John Balance is performing a similar role in Coil, and the work that we do is very demanding of the person, because it's not like you just have to show up and sing songs. You know, the people who do that have to show up and reveal the inner workings, their inner sort of soul, if you like. And revealing one's soul in public over and over is, you know, can kill you. You're right. And you say it not like Jim Morrison or Kurt Cobain, but I think those people are going through exactly the same thing. You know, and obviously, you know, people have personal issues at the same time as well, which makes the job harder. And you know, it's not for everyone. Sometimes it would be easier if you were working in a shop or in a factory or in a gas station, because you wouldn't have that danger of being exposed to the public view, you know, repeatedly. That's why there are not many groups, not many bands that do it the way we do it, because it's too demanding, you know. And it's much easier for a singer just to show up and sing the lyrics.
Who is doing it your way, Boy to Rise?
Well, it does sometimes, I guess. Yeah. All that's most of that kind of stable of genre of people do it to a greater or lesser extent, and different artists. I mean, in a way, you know, I think that Nina Simone probably does it more than Nick Cave. I don't know. That's just from my vision. I don't know. But
there's another guy who did work with you, Mark Almond.
Mm-hmm.
Still in contact? Are there
We
plans?
speak to Mark every now and again. Yeah, we're hoping actually to do a new record that's kind of an anniversary release of Our Tainted Love, because that was the first record that, as far as we know, that actually provided money for people with AIDS. And it seems like, even though it was nearly 20 years ago now, there's a whole new generation of people who haven't learnt the lessons of the first generation of people that died, because they're all gone. And so lots of young people have unsafe sex and don't, because they think either they don't know or they don't care, or they think that, you know, the advance in medication and health is enough to protect them, which is not true. So we're interested in doing a new release, possibly with or without Mark. I don't know, that tries to bring this information to the public, and also brings it back into the present, into the public eye.
You were doing several pop songs in your special way, cover versions, not only Tainted Love, also Who by Fire,
Mm-hmm.
and yesterday
Bang Bang.
strange
Yeah.
to me, this is a Cher song.
We you know, we have a strange approach to humour, in that, you know, first of all, we think they're great songs, and secondly, we think that it would surprise people and entertain people and amuse people to hear us doing them. And thirdly, you know, we think that we can actually do a version that has meaning in the same way that a Coil song would have meaning, you know, because generally all Coil songs are kind of sort of have an undercurrent. You know, we like to make music that appeals not simply to the front of your mind, but also to the back of your mind, so that you might have some appreciation or some different understanding of the song 2 weeks after you hear it, as well as what happened when you heard it for the first time. So the songs that we choose to cover generally we think fit this requirement of having a kind of funny and amusing reaction immediately, but also when you think about it, you know, there's a double take. So obviously with Tainted Love, you know, it was kind of weird to start with, but it also had a different meaning later, and maybe some even other meanings later on still. And likewise with Bang Bang. We're working right now on a cover version of Losing My Religion. But that's a long story.
So this brings me to maybe the last question. Do you believe in any kind of God?
Yes, very much so.
Can you explain?
And she works for me.
What is your religion? She works for me.
What's her daily wage?
I'm being stupid, but it's difficult to talk about one's personal beliefs. But I definitely do believe that there are things, you know, it's not just random, and death's not the end, you know. But I can't explain why I believe that, or why. To me, you just know. You know, it's like ritual. Everybody, you know, thinks that these things are outside ourselves, or that, you know, that the church is something that is up there on the hill and you have to do what they say. But it's not. You know, it's inside, and you have to just listen, and it becomes obvious.
So thank you very much for spending time.
Thank you.